everybody. Thank you for coming to I don't have a name for this show yet. We're going to have to work on that. The Sunday live stream, Travel Talk Sunday live stream. Oh my goodness, I put my 49er shirt on. This is one of my only shirts that somehow is a fur magnet with the dogs. Paula always says my clothes don't attract the fur like hers does, and like accuses me of like knowing what to buy or whatever. This shirt, actually, she bought me this shirt. Maybe that's why. I just now thought of that. Oh my goodness. But thank you for joining me a little bit early today. I want to make sure we got the live stream in, update everybody on the surgery and the progress on that, have a little bit of fun, talk sports a little bit. And then I'm going to go off and watch the game. I don't have high hopes, but well, I have hope, but I don't have high expectations. Maybe that's the right way to say it. Let's get this off. This looks ridiculous right now. All right, let's go ahead and do some hellos. I saw a lot of people in here early on. We had Kyle Ringo's our first in the house. How's it going? I did see these. These two were on here last night after I posted it because I was changing times. I was trying to get ahead of it and kind of put it out there that we would be a little bit early today, especially since we're starting to get in the groove. And I didn't go last week because I was kind of getting ready still for the surgery that was on Tuesday. So yeah, I tried to give as much notice as I could, and at the same time, coming out of surgery, it's like, well, I'm feeling better, but will I tomorrow? Well, we are, but yeah, you don't want to overpromise too, and then have to cancel things all the time. So Lily was second in the house. How's it going? See everybody tomorrow. By the way, yep, Kyle was first, gold medal, silver medal, and was I third? Do I get the bronze? No, Paula, my exotic Canadian wife, gets the bronze medal. No, she gets platinum all the time. She's always the top. So that means Floss can have the bronze. How's it going, Floss? Good to see you. I gave the dogs a warm-up treat, so now Dallas is, of course, not on her thing. There's Peppa. You're on the couch. She's like, but then you ignore us. Then you ignore us, Dad. Oh, my goodness. There we go. We got the dogs in the picture. Of course, if you have your monthly super chat, if you are a member, I know a lot of people aren't anymore because I wasn't going live for a while. And I don't know if we cycled. I know a lot of them got used the first time, but we still do that. We got the treats ready. If you guys have your monthly membership, go ahead and throw those in. Actually, now I see Lily. Lily, thank you. I see yippee treats for the dogs. Let's get them involved. And of course, Lily, I do remember, double treats member. So 2 treats for each dog. Let's get those out. You got. I don't know why. Oh, you guys get on the couch. Get on the couch. I gotta be careful rolling around like this, moving, bending, or whatever. Get on the couch. On the couch. You take up half the show just waiting for the dogs to go through. That's not the couch. Get on the couch. She swears she hadn't done this before. All right, sit. There you go. Take. You want another? Take. Good girls. Good girls. Lily loves you. And Paula loves them too. I see that too. We'll get down to them, but I do see it on my other screen. So here we go. More dog treats. We don't even start the show. We just get right in the dogs. Let's throw these. Have a little bit of fun. Of course, Dallas jumps down and screws it up. Get on the couch. Get on the couch. You don't learn very quick, do you? Sit. Ready? Sit. Sit. There you go. And one more because Paul is also a double treats member. Oh, these are going to be big ones. Oh, well. There they go. And of course, your friendly reminder to hit that thumbs up. And we've got the treat bones too, although I'm running out. I'm going to have to remember to buy more. I've got like one left in 2 different bags. So we'll do that as well. What do we need? Oh, I should probably hit my own thumbs up. Here we go. Now we're up to 6. Let's see if we can, at least I show 6. Maybe we get to 10, then we'll give the treat bones. All right, let's get back to hellos. Oh my goodness, it's early in the day, so I'm not used to doing them quite at this time. Let's answer Floss's question real quick. I'm doing really good. Better than I probably was in past hernia surgeries. I think part of that is because this was umbilical. I just get the feeling that the umbilical is a little bit easier, quicker recovery, even though it wasn't laparoscopic. It's not a huge incision. So yeah, feeling really good. I think I still think there's a couple more days before I'm quite up and down and rolling around. Like when I'm sleeping, it's still kind of a little bit slow and all of that. Oh my goodness, we got another fluffy. I need to rename these things since we're not technically a dog channel anymore. I don't know what we are anymore, quite frankly. We're just going to do what we want. Thank you for joining, Johnny. Here's some more treats for the dogs. I was going to say they haven't had dinner yet, but it's earlier than we normally do this these days. Get on the couch. Get on the couch. Johnny loves you. You see that? Open my. Oh, she dropped it. She dropped it. Thank you, Johnny. You guys know Johnny. We got to go to her meetup. Not last year, we didn't get there. 2 years ago. Johnny hasn't heard this. I've started my own business, and it's going to take a long time to get started up or whatever. But my goal is to serve the part of the country that she's in, kind of that Michigan down to Tennessee, a little bit over to Missouri area, where I might end up. The long-term goal is that Paula can retire in 5 years, and then I'll have this business up and running, and we travel kind of while I work. And a lot of the travel, hopefully, will be kind of based in that area. So, hopefully, that means more meetups in that area in the future. Johnny's in Michigan, and Marshall has his in Kentucky if he's going to keep doing that. I think he did the first one this year. Forgive me, I am coughing, unfortunately, which you really don't want to do. So I'm going to talk with my mouth full. You guys get on the couch. There's a lot of practice on this. She still doesn't listen. All right, let's get these going. Sorry, yeah, you guys understand, I'm sure. We got okay. Now Kyle's actually, because the first post was yesterday. So hi again today, Kyle. So we got Captain Jack in here. I never heard of a Canadian lady referred to exotic. You know, my exotic Canadian wife always argues that point with me. She agrees with you that you can't call a Canadian exotic. It's not defined. It's exotic to me. I'm from the States. But now I sound like Canadian because I call it the States. Until now, but you know what? It fits. I like it. It does fit. She's my exotic Canadian wife. For me, down in the desert, she's coming from the Canadian winter. Yeah, I will always call her my exotic Canadian wife. Um, yeah, unfortunately, it snows in the air, and I think Chicago and Illinois. I know my dad in South Dakota was getting it. We got a few inches couple days ago. Winter's here. The good news is we've got the fence in, so it's much easier now with the dogs. I don't have to put them on the tether one at a time or take them out on the leash. The bad news is right now I can't lift, so I can't help with scooping snow or whatever, but hopefully it's not bad until I can. And having the fence in also kind of makes it where you got to go all the way back to the alley with some of it. All right, there we go. We got Johnny in the house there. Scrolling on down. Please say hi to Paula for me. Been a while. Cray cray here. I know you say cray cray. My banking mind, talking about my new business, is fair banking specific. So the two rules that I kind of work in are well, fair lending, which is ECOA, equal credit opportunity, and fair housing. So those are technically two rules. And then CRA, Community Reinvestment Act. So I know everybody else reads that as cray cray. I just think work. Let's go talk community reinvestment and helping banks reach out to the low and moderate income individuals, not just the high end high wealthy affluent folks, right? Sorry, I'm such a nerd. That's why I have rebranded myself Nate the Fair Banking Nerd, because I can't not comment when I see cray cray, because to me that's some completely different. All right. Okay, scrolling. We got Alan in the house. How's it going, Alan? We're gonna try to do these kind of quick here. Paula saying hi to everybody. We got. I didn't know Johnny was a Seahawks fan. I did know Lily is, and they're playing the Cardinals today, all in the same division. I'm hoping, again, my expectations aren't real high, but I'm hoping we win today against the Rams. I don't know. I'm not hoping really either way. If the Seahawks win, then they'll be first in the division. We'll be second. If they lose to the Cardinals, which I doubt, although I don't think Cardinals are as bad as their record is. So we'll see. It's a very important day for that Western NFC division, though. Name for this show: Exotic Canadians. And we always had that play on our names, pollinate, right? Pollinate. You could do a whole bunch of different things, but since we do keep our YouTube separate, I don't know. Maybe just a travel talk Sunday or something simple like that. I'm learning that trying to do too fancy a names and acronyms stuff doesn't always work the best for you. Again, thank you for these monthly super chats here, guys, and thank you to Johnny for joining. Of course, our good friend down in Missouri over at Johnny's Journey. And what is it? Midwest Van Builders, right? Johnny, I don't know if I've talked to you. My dad's going to buy not a Travato. Now it's a really nice van because he wants to travel out to Tennessee more. But doesn't really want to stay with my sister. My grandma's in a nursing home, but he wants to get out to see his mom more. And so I don't know if he does it, if he gets this, he was showing me, and it's like nicer than Travatos or something. He just retired a year ago. And so he's got some time. He's trying to do that a little bit more. So maybe he'll let me before he fills it up with stuff. But he's a very private person. maybe we'll get a tour of that, right? To show like the newest and the best. And I told him when he thought about getting a van, I said, well, we've got a friend down in Missouri that builds them out, but he likes buying things new. But I said, if you ever need to like customize it, build it, like she doesn't actually build the van, she kind of builds the interior and the electrical and all of that. Um, but if he does get it, it's going to be a pretty nice one. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't heard anything more on that. I think you were too. So you know how that works. And you probably joined what 3 years ago and it drops off. And yeah, that's okay. Nate, you still need to come to Oregon. I know. I don't know when that will be. I got to do that trip. What 2 years ago now? Unfortunately, it was still winter. I got to go to some of the parks, but it was more of a work trip. And I got a couple extra days that I stayed out there, kind of running around, just so I could see the coast. And you guys saw some of that video. I don't know if I actually put out a whole lot of that, but I've got so much video that I never put out because when I started traveling, everything got recorded. It's all on a hard drive somewhere. I probably could go back and make videos out of them, but I don't know. Jack says, I think it'll be 3 weekend meetups in a row in 2026. You know what? In a perfect world, well, part of the problem is I don't want to leave Paula for that long. But in a perfect world, if Paula was retired or could come with me and afford the time off, but if we're going to Fiji, so she wouldn't, I want to building up my marketing and my network and all of that because I can't just go poach clients from who I was working for, right? So people that know me, I can't just go get them. So I kind of got to build up a whole brand new network and that's why I say it's going to be slow building it up. My first year is it's just going to be a very slow go. I'm going to work on a lot of big projects that'll hopefully pay off down the road. The other part is actually banks budgeting, how that works for the 2026 budget. They've pretty much got an idea of what they're doing for their budget. So they've signed a lot of contracts for next year and whatnot. So I don't expect on to be doing really anything that I get paid for at least through February into the spring, right? And then next summer will be really important where it's contract season for the next year. Um, so in a perfect world, ideally, I mean, if I was sitting on a ton of savings and whatnot, and cost wasn't an issue, knowing that that part of the country is where I want to get a lot of clients, and I don't know a lot of people in banking out there, but long term or 5 year plan with Paul retiring, that's where I would like to have a lot of clients. But it's not an area that I've worked in a lot geographically. So, in a perfect world, I'd like take a month. In that month, do the weekends on the weekends. Go to those three if they're on actually different weekends, and then go meet with bankers in person, and that would still be within their budget season for the next year. Um, but that would be a lot to take on, plus adding the expense, and probably the biggest part is being away from Paula for probably a month. Now, if we could fly her in and have her do a meetup or two, maybe that's a possibility. But I don't know. It's so full. But yes, I miss those meetups. I love them, and you guys know Marshall built my website for me. That's done now. I'm probably still going to tweak it a little bit, but he showed me how to do that. I'd love to go to Marshall's as well. I would call her your frozen Canadian wife. No, that means I'm not keeping her warm. You know what? Oh, okay. We're gonna have to talk about the hernia once I get caught up on chat here, which you guys know how long that'll be. Man, the guy next to me, the comment he made, Paula knows when somebody starts talking about my wife, I flip a switch real quick. I think she could tell, like, that's not fun. He thought it was funny. I didn't find it funny, and he was pretty much dead to me. I shouldn't say that about somebody in the hospital. Like he was good. They were trying to kick him out. Actually, we'll get to that. Johnny's M26 and K26. So is that the order of them, Captain Jack? Because man, that would be cool. Um, It'd also be a lot of driving in between them. So if I was trying to meet with bankers, I don't know. Maybe I give it a 1% chance. I, I would love to do that. I really would, especially if they've got those back to back like that, and especially if I can, if it is a business trip and I can meet with bankers on that route. That'd be really cool because then I can expense it at least for tax purposes. It's still a big expense to go do though. Show name Bank on Nate. Actually, the funny thing is there's a whole program in the banking industry called Bank On, where bankers get into like almost a cooperative. It's not for profit or anything, but it's a thing, and they're all across the country where Bank On, the banks are members of it, and it's kind of their effort to get unbanked and underbanked folks and families into the banking system and kind of working on solutions to that. I did some work out in Detroit for 3 months 1 year, and something similar. It was kind of the government's when an area doesn't have a bank on or an effective mechanism to do it, the industry itself, the FDIC would come in. It was called, I don't know if they still do it. It's called an Alliance for Economic Inclusion. So I went out there and I was actually running the Alliance for Economic Inclusion out in Detroit for 3 months and trying to meet with some of the members of that alliance. And you work with all banks, community groups, and talking with, like, the voluntary income, they call it VITA, voluntary income tax assistance, was a great way to get people into the banking industry that I had never realized. So basically, and it's supposed to happen big next year, I guess. People get their refund checks or whatever, and that's a good time to get people into the banking system because for low and moderate individuals or families, they don't always have the money for an account. Well, that's the time of the year where they really try to go and say, "Hey, you got that check." Rather than go spending all of it, maybe spend half of it. Obviously they got to put food on the table and all that stuff. But if you can save some of that and get into the banking system, that is the best time of the year to do that with those particular that particular demographic. But oh, I'm sure he appreciates that, Lily. Yeah, he it was funny because he retired at the end of last year and then the markets crashed with all the tariff stuff earlier in the year. And I thought that is the absolutely worst time, the first year after retirement, for the markets to crash, because that's when you start pulling money out. Not only it goes down, but you're pulling money out. So even when it rebounds, if it went on for a while, now this year it wasn't as bad, but if it had gone on for 3 or 4 years and you're pulling while it's still depressed, that can change your retirement plan really quick. And a lot of people, like after 2008, 2009, all of a sudden they can't retire or they unretire, right? What did Captain Jack say? Oh, see, yeah, I took it a whole different way because, yeah, my brain goes, see her, that cray cray, my brain takes it a different way, bank on something completely different to me. I try not to nerd out on that stuff too much in here because I know this is uh travel and, like Captain Jack says, nomadic. Hey, 5 years down the road, who knows? Hey, we got Auntie Cindy in the house. How's it going, Auntie? Good to see you. All right, where are we going? Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Let's see if I can actually catch up. Okay, that's what I thought. The last couple of years, Johnny's and Michigan have had it the same week. So yeah, it's not, you can't do 1, 2, 3, but you could do one or the other, and then over in Kentucky. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I remember that whole controversy. uh, I'll tell you later, Paula. If somebody, I believe we have not confirmed. We'll figure all that out once the official dates are out. Yeah. Okay. What are we talking about today? Hernias, I guess. Hernia update. Okay, so the gist of it is, one, the dogs are like, "Hey, you promised a treat bone, so maybe before I get licked to death over here, and the dogs aren't doing their role. All right, get on the couch. Let's give them their treat bone." I see 6 thumbs up. It probably is just not refreshing for me, but thank you guys for the thumbs up. It does help the algorithm. You gotta get on the couch. I don't know why they're not behaved anymore. Get on the couch. No, Pippa, on the couch. Sit. Sit. Wait. Wait. And take. There you go. Good girls. All right. Ooh, gotta be a little careful there. Turning. So yeah, the hernia. Um, so in the past, I've had 4 of these things, and they're a little different. Well, some are where they do an incision. A couple of the others I've done are in not inguinal, that's the type of hernia. Laparoscopic, where they kind of go into your belly button, use cameras, all that, which is less intrusive. And I always found that those kind of repaired and healed quicker versus where they do the incision. Well, this one was not going to be laparoscopic. The guy basically told me, "Yeah, you can go up to Regina and it'll take you 2 years and you can get it done." I want to get it done before Fiji, and the timing worked out perfectly, quite frankly. So I was thinking, because it wasn't laparoscopic, maybe it'd be slower. Now, the flip side is that's the type of procedure, but type of hernia also matters. And Johnny, tell me if I'm saying something crazy, because I know you were a nurse. The inguinal, I always found, because it's like in your groin area versus umbilicals right at your belly button. Just movement and whatnot. I think the umbilical is just less less painful, less intrusive to like your movement and your pain and all of that. So I am actually feeling remarkably good from my past experience. So I was going to talk about a couple of kind of about the day and how it went and all that, but some of the differences from in the past. Of course, Canadian healthcare versus state healthcare. I've done it where I didn't have insurance and they like they don't want to do it unless you put a down payment on it. I've done it where I've had really good insurance and they want to do everything fancy. But yeah, I know, Floss, they're out of practice. We'll have to do this more, right? We're planning to keep doing it every Sunday. We're gonna keep it relatively informal, so I don't have to do a whole lot of training. I keep my focus on the business, but I do want to keep doing these, especially as we hopefully get to travel more. If I can get the business to take off and we can afford to do it, right? But I keep saying that, so in the past, in general, what I remember is it's a what do they call it? A day procedure. You go in the morning, they do the surgery, they take you out, you wake up, you spend some time there recover. You have a either family member or friend come get you, and I go home. And for 3 days, they give you pain meds more than just Tylenol, like Vicodin or whatever the other ones are. And then after 3 days, because of the pain meds, you get a little constipated. 3 days, you worry about your bowel movement. But after 2 or 3 days, I always remember them being kind of like, I remember I was up, I'd watch TV, I'd walk around my apartment, that type of thing. But kind of a blur because of the pain meds, right? And after 3 days, after you get through the first bowel movement, and you're then I think it's always 2 or 3 days, maybe four that you were on pain meds, and then you come off. So the first 2 or 3 days were always kind of a blur, not a big deal, didn't really feel anything, but and it wasn't too hard, right? And then maybe a week, and then you're kind of back to I don't want to say back to normal. You can't lift things more than 10 pounds. That's the part that sucks about it. But otherwise, you're not in pain. You're somewhat limited. Each day gets a little bit better, right? So this one, it's interesting. The most interesting part to me is they didn't say, "Do you want pain meds?" They were ready to like just kick us out without telling us anything. It's like, no, you just get Tylenol, which quite frankly, I think if it was an inguinal one, I would have been like, maybe. But now that I've been through it, I Tylenol is probably absolutely fine for uh for what we went through. But that was completely different. So that what that also changes is I'm seeing like, I'm like trying to be really careful about what I eat or whatever. Waiting, thought I'd wait for the third day for bowel movement. Well, at the beginning of the second day, surgery was Tuesday. I think was it Wednesday? Anyways, got that out of the way and was like, okay, I guess I don't got to be as careful about what I'm eating or any of that. So that was probably one of the bigger differences, especially since it was only an umbilical one. When I had an umbilical one before, it was a umbilical and inguinal. So did I say that right? I think I did. So, anyways, everything's been going great. The other thing, okay, so we'll talk about the day a little bit. So kind of the same thing. You go in about an hour before they're actually going to do surgery. They get you prepped. They put your IV in. The thing that I noticed that was to me different, and I don't know, maybe I remember it wrong before, but so they don't get you pain medicine afterwards when they send you home, but they start morphine in your IV before the surgery so that when you get out, you're not in pain. I don't ever remember them doing that in the US. They put you under and then started pain management afterwards and then sent you home with the pain medication. Where here they did morphine. I don't know how much. I was just a little bit loopy, head's a little wobbly, whatever. But yeah, Paula brought me in. She got kicked out for maybe 15, 30 minutes, whatever it was, while they did paperwork and some of the IVs and whatnot. And she was brought back in by the time I was already a little whoop, 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 whoop. And then they wheel me down after an hour of going to surgery. And I think this actual surgery started at 8:30. I think, Paula, tell me if I'm wrong, she was at I know it must have been like an hour surgery, less than 2. I think she was back in the recovery room with me by 10:30. Maybe it was 11. And then they wheel you upstairs at some point to kind of another room where the other big difference, typically in the States, they never even come close to offering like, "Oh, yeah, you might stay overnight one night," this or thing. No, it's like, "Get in, get out of here," type of thing. Here, they typically, at least in this hospital, it might be a rural hospital thing because we're not in a big city. We're not in a tiny, tiny place, about 10,000 people, right? So it's not a big hospital, but it's a kind of a rural area. So generally, they will keep people one night to monitor them. Now that might be different in the big city, bec but because I live in the town and just down the road from the hospital, luckily, they said, "Okay, you can get out of here." I wanted to get out of there. The other guy in my room who, I won't say his name, we'll just call him R, you know, they wheel me into this room where you're supposed to they probably brought me up at noon and they kicked me out, not kicked me out, they let me go, I should say, I think 4. So we're up there for 4 hours. And wheel me in, and I got all these, what was it? They were training nurses or something, all wheeling me in. Paula said I showed my butt off to everybody because the gown opens up in the back. I was like, I don't know. I'm still kind of loopy here. They say get out of this bed, jump into the other one. I stand up and well, apparently I gave everybody a show. Is that right, Paula? I vaguely remember her making that comment. We haven't talked about it since. Well, whatever. Nurses and doctors, they don't care. They'd see it every day. Yeah, so I lived up to the Tiny Heiny name. Not now more people can, it's not like nobody's seen it before, I guess, right? Yeah, I know, Lily, my head's always been a little bit wobbly. So yeah, they wheel me in, they take my blood pressure, whatever they did, and yeah, there we go. Okay, so it did happen. Well, tush, seen by all. I don't know. It felt like there was like 5 people standing there. I didn't know. I think they were just training. I think one nurse, the one that was actually doing the work, was she the 4th year? She was almost a nurse, and all the others were newer and just, like, watching, I guess, and then, like, the nurse that was actually, like, in charge. Anyways, they wheel me in, they do what they gotta do. But there's this other guy on the other room behind our curtain, whatever, can't see him, talking to this other nurse, and you just hear him, he doesn't wanna leave. Well, apparently he'd fallen 4 days ago, and they're like, "You're good to go home now." Well, they're redoing my bedroom, and I don't have a bed to stay, and he really wanted to stay, like, another 3 or 4 days. And I'm sitting there like, this would never fly in the US. They'd be like, "Get out of here, dude." And so he's like, "Yeah, I can't." And they're like, "Well, what about this? What about that?" And he's like, "If I gotta go pay for a car to get me to a motel, I'm sending you guys the bill." And I thought, "Really?" Like, I guess if you really don't have a place to go, you don't have friends or family, and your place, I guess it was being remodeled or something. I guess you could go to a motel, but that's not the hospital's problem, I don't think. Anyways, I think the guy got to stay. And I tried, Paula ran home to get the dogs out or whatever, and he was trying to talk to me, and I'd say, like, one-word answers just to, I'm not even all there at that point. Anyways, "Oh, okay, yeah, call him a cab." His problem was not only did he not have a way home, he was like, "Well, you can't send me home because I don't have a bed at home right now." "Well, what about a chair you can sleep in?" He had an excuse for everything. I'm just gonna call it. It sounded like a bunch of excuses to me. It would have never, but Johnny, would that have ever fly, would they have ever, like, been, "Okay." Um, what Paula did tell me afterwards is that, yeah, if they don't really need the room, like me going home probably meant, and I don't know that they need the room for anything else. I don't know. But Paula said that, yeah, if people pull that, they just end up with a bill for the room because the Canadian healthcare covers the surgery and everything, which was a blessing, especially when I'm switching jobs or starting my own company, however you want to word that. Um, Not that I had insurance through my workplace, anyways. Now I'm losing my train of thought. Anyways, this R guy, he's got all these excuses, and Paul leaves, and he's trying to talk to me through these curtains and ask me questions, and I give him one word responses, whatever. Paula comes back. Well, this guy had gotten up, gone to the bathroom, and Paula comes back, doesn't really know anything about this guy yet. And this guy's all of a sudden like poking his head through our curtains, like, so blah blah blah. And all you see is his head poking through, and Paula's just like, what? This isn't something you do. Like, isn't there privacy in a hospital? Like, isn't that expected? So he was a little bit, I don't know, carefree, didn't think he needed to respect privacy or whatever. Yeah, see, that was my impression. I'm sitting there like, how is this a thing? Like, you actually get to demand that you get to stay in the hospital? Like, yeah, if you're they take if you have a serious medical condition and you're not okay, they have to take you in the US. But once you're stabilized or whatever, my understanding is you're gone. But uh I know, hard to keep me shorts up with no. Sorry, I'm not catching all the comments. So anyways, I was the guy was kind of annoying, but I was like, whatever, he's had a rough week. I don't know. It sounds like It sounded like excuses to me, but maybe he's had a hard time. People were calling him. He had a visitor. I don't know. It seemed like by how many people were calling to check on him. Somebody coming in to talk to him. Spent like an hour with him. It seemed like he would have found, he would have had a bed somewhere without even going to a motel. I don't know. A lot of excuses. The part that got me, he came back in. He went to his little locker thing, and Paul's like he didn't get anything out. He didn't. He just went to his locker to have a reason to come to our side of the room or whatever. And then what was the comment, Paul? He said something to Paula like, "Oh yeah, you'll just have to get a new husband." And I was like, dead to me. I'm not talking to this guy anymore. Screw you. I know I'm a little loopy, but don't make a comment to me to my wife like that. Yeah, he's an older guy, whatever. But all right, we got $2 super chat from Lily. Thank you. All right, we got treats from Pippi. Let's give two out. Get on the bed. Oh, let's get a little bit bigger one there. There we go. Let's not be stingy. Okay, you gotta get on the couch. Gotta get on the couch. They don't listen very well. They can't see you if you're not on the couch. You can't see them? No, see, they can't see you. Couch. You gotta get on the couch. 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 This is gonna be the whole show. Just waiting. Dallas, sit. Sit. Good girl. And one. There you go. Good girl. Lily really loves you. Yeah, 4 treats from Lily today. Thank you so much, Lily. Okay. So yeah, I was just like, Paula has learned that I do. I don't get upset very often, but if you're mean to her or make a comment like that, yeah, I flip. I'm done with you. Like the people at Canadian Tire that was like harassing her about her bag or whatever and were rude to her. She was like, and I called the corporate office. I was like, screw that. That is unacceptable when you're treating my wife that way. And I was ready to ban them. Well, now all of the tariff things, I'm cool with Canadian Tire again, only because I was like, okay, I'll give Canadian Tire a second chance, but only because the tariff stuff is nonsense. Well, we'll have them around. I'm gonna try to do it every week. I no promises that we'll get every week. Let me scroll up. Let's catch up on chat real quick. I don't even know where I was. I've been trying to watch a little bit. Uh, so yeah, so maybe I know a couple years people were able to go to both, and I think the last 2 years they weren't. So yeah, that would be awesome. It also for somebody that's got to travel a long ways, if you can hit multiple meetups. Now we might also have to be up in Ontario next year, somewhere around that time too. So I really do have no promises on any of that, but it would be. I always enjoyed those meetups. By the time they're done, I'm kind of like, right? Especially since like Michigan, I'd always be there extra days, and I am an introvert. Nobody ever believes me, but okay, okay. So I think most of that. I don't think I missed too much. Okay, I'm just gonna if there was something I missed, I tried to read them real quick to make sure there wasn't. But if there was something I missed, it's important just type it back in because I missed it. Yeah. Well, I waited over 40 years to find you, so yeah, don't mess with my wife. Oh, there's Kobe. Kobe with living the dream, listening while delivering. Oh, he's out working. Well, yeah, and Jack had his live yesterday. Now I popped in a little bit, but I want to make sure I finish all the hernia stuff first, and then we'll get to this because it's going to lead into the next thing, guys. Okay. Yeah, the only other thing that was unique to me that I've never done before, I've never had hospital food before. And they, I was there long enough that they had my liquid diet. So I got Jello and some broth. I don't know. I ate it. It was fine. I wasn't particularly hungry, and I had a 7 Up that helped my throat. Oh no, there is something different. They actually, I'm gonna screw up how you say this. Incubated, where they stick the. I don't know for sure that they did, but when they do the prep or whatever, they have the anesthesiologist come in and they're talking to you and then talk about your history and surgeries and if you had any reactions or anything. Look at Dallas back there just smiling away. We all see you, girl. You having a good time? She's like, yeah, I'm eating a lot of food today, Dad. Yeah, and the guy's like, Depending on the surgeon, we haven't talked about it yet, but sometimes if they want everything paralyzed where they're working, then they incubate you, put the tube down your throat to make sure you're able to breathe and they don't have complications with that. Well, my throat, the couple days, 2 or 3 in, it's still kind of scratchy. I'm pretty sure they did go with that, and that I'm pretty sure has never been done before. So that was different. And the combination of no pain meds after a surgery have always kind of made me kind of like, and I think your body as well doesn't want to cough, right? And you don't want to be coughing. Well, this time without the pain meds plus the scratchiness in my throat, the first day I didn't have a tendency to cough, but starting the second day, I have been coughing. I've got this little hernia belt that helps a little bit, but I really don't want to be coughing. Now they're not full fledged, but I don't think my body would let me do a real cough still. But yeah, I am coughing. I've never had to cough after a surgery for like a month. So that's the only part that makes me a little nervous. You just don't want to be coughing. That's why I've got the cough drops right here and water, and that was different as well. But anyways, yeah. So sorry, I'm going back and forth like usual. Captain Jack was live yesterday having a little bit of fun, and I know Kobe had um a premiere of going to a gator place or a reptile place and where they had gators, and yes, but I was actually, as we were gonna transition into the sports talk here, the Rough Riders, my Canadian football team, they're in the conference championship at home yesterday up in Regina. And so I had it, I've got it basically my computer thinks I'm in the US. So normally we would be blacked out, but I was able to watch it through my VPN that can spoof where I'm at. And so I did have it up here and I was, I it wasn't quite started when Jack was live and I was going in, said hi and whatever. Then by the time the premiere was there, Kobe's premiere on the Reptile Place, I was very invested in the game. So I did have it up. I was watching, but I was kind of both eyes. But yeah, Kobe, I believe there's evidence that, and he always gives me crap for doing so many videos on birds and roosters, and I'm petting the roosters and this and that. He pet a giant emu. So I don't want to hear it anymore, Kobe, as he's out delivering things. That was actually pretty cool. I was kind of jealous. I've never been that close to a bird that size. My dad's got a giant parrot. I was going to talk about that. Jack was joking about that yesterday. And I might, yeah, whenever I get back up to my dad's, I might have to do some videos of its parrot. It's a pretty cool bird. I don't really handle it a whole lot. He used to have a bird when I was younger that same type of big parrot they can bite your finger in half. They can break a finger if they wanted to. But um, yeah. So I was watching, but yeah, the Kobe's video. I don't know if we got a link. Intubated. Yeah, there you go. That was an interesting video. And one thing I saw on I think on his Facebook this morning, where somebody was like, should you be, should they be letting people wrestle alligators or whatever they want to call it? And I had a similar experience back when I was in Michigan, and Kobe will also know this place where they've got a bear. It's not a zoo. It's just a place a bear not entrap. I don't know what the right word is. They got like 30 or 40 bears. And I actually got some flack because I put a video out about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going out of my way to do these places. And the thing people didn't like about the place that I went to was that they let people take pictures with baby bears. And so you think Tiger King or whatever. I never really watched the show. Sanctuary. I don't know if it was quite a sanctuary though. Sanctuaries only take injured ones, I think, or ones that they don't have another place for. So it was a little bit more zoo-like, somewhere between a zoo and a sanctuary, something in between. But yeah, I got some flack for that. I saw Kobe gain some flack for, you shouldn't be. I don't know. They didn't quite attack Kobe for posting the video, but should they be having people um be able? Does everybody need to be able to wrestle an alligator like that or something? I don't know. My take on that, when I went through that and I had to think through it, look, I'm a YouTuber. I travel. I might actually somewhat agree with the thought process behind that. Like Tiger King, where they're literally having tigers every couple of years so that people can take pictures with a baby tiger. Yeah, that's kind of screwed up, right? And then they live their lives in enclosures that aren't really big enough and all that. So I do get it, but my approach on that has since that, and I thought it through is look, I video where I go, and if that's what's there, I'm gonna video it. And if you don't like it, that's okay, don't watch it. Um, but unfortunately, yeah, when we're YouTubers and we go places, and I don't think Kobe even wrestle. I say wrestle. What they say? Capture it or hold it down, whatever. Anyways, nonsense, nonsense. I tell you. And you go to other countries, what you can't because other countries have completely different values than us, and some with human right type stuff. But I think I've kind of adopted. I do have my personal feelings on stuff, but if I go somewhere, I'm gonna just this is how it is here. Because not videoing it and not putting it out there also just hides the fact that it even exists, right? So anyways. Oh, yeah, Floss loves birds too. I had, I don't even know what a macaw. I don't know what the first word is. A macaw fear bite one of my fingers. Did it break? Were they able to break it? Large cashew nuts. Yeah, I don't think I don't know if they can bite it right off, but they could break a bone. My dad's bird could break a bone, so I've never actually held his bird. I mean, I could. I if I wanted and I want to make a video, I could put it. I don't know if I'd take it out of the cage myself. I'd be like, okay, put it on my shoulder, and then I could easily just hold it like that, right? You just don't put your finger in front. Once it's on your shoulder, you just slip your finger up under its legs, push it back, that type of thing. I don't think I would if I really had to. I could, but I don't really have a desire to take it out of the cage because there is a little bit of a threat like that. And of course, if you're scared of it, they sense that as well. So it's always kind of funny because my brother that lives with the bird is actually scared of it too, more than I am. Um, but they're fun. Okay, I missed that part because I was distracted. I fully admit I watched the whole thing. I had it up the whole time, but I was distracted because I was watching the game and then looking over, trying to watch two things at once. Uh, but at least got the watch hours. uh, Floss says after my neck surgery, they had to get a numbing spray for my throat. You know what? And you can buy that. Maybe I should have done that. I mean, you kind of get that with cough drops, which is what I've kind of done. And when I start coughing, I just take some cough drops and it kind of stops it, but it doesn't always stop it right away. That's actually a good idea. I might run to the store today real quick to get more cough drops. I might get that spray that you're talking about if we don't already have some. Anyways, let's see here. So they sense my fear. Yes, they absolutely do, which is why it's so funny. It's one of those things, like, if you're not scared, yeah, you go up and pet it or whatever. I mean, I'm not completely comfortable with birds, but I also know if you show fear, you may as well not go up to it, right? But yeah, like you could tell in the video when you were petting the one, you felt comfortable with that bird, but when the other one came up, you could even see it and sense it in the video. Well, you know the bird sense it too. All right. So anyways, I was gonna be talking about we talked last week, although not last week, the week before about travel for health or surgeries, that type of thing. And we got completely off track, like which was perfectly fine. We were having a good time. Today we were going to talk about travel for sports, right? Because we just had and we don't watch sports all the time, but up here, the Blue Jays, all of Canada was cheering on the Blue Jays in the World Series. And I saw some people, some smart ass comments online about, oh yeah, Canadians aren't traveling to the US until they're playing the Dodgers in the World Series. Well, there may have been some that traveled for that. I know a lot of them went to Seattle, right? Because they played the Mariners and barely got through that series. Um, I think Canadians will travel for the Blue Jays because it's like it's almost like the Canadian national team, and they don't get there very often every 30 years. Well, because they're in a division with the Yankees and the Red Sox and teams that spend a lot of money, even though the Blue Jays do spend a fair amount of money, it's hard to compete. So they don't even get to the playoffs all the time. And then you got to get through the round. So it doesn't happen all the time. And there's one team in Canada. So it was really unique to me to watch that. I know it came out somewhat um if you watch the World Series. But if you're in Canada, you get the sense even more like, wow, that's a really big deal. It's not just the Toronto Blue Jays. It's almost the Canadian Blue Jays because they used to have the Montreal Expos, but they don't have that team anymore, right? So there's one baseball team in Canada. All of Canada is cheering that team on. Yes, they were willing to travel to the U.S. to watch it. Although I think in the case of the Dodgers games, I think there's a lot of Canadians that have actually moved to that area. So I would suspect that a lot of people would have traveled to the Toronto game unless they couldn't get tickets, and the people in the Dodgers game were probably more local permanent resident type. How's it going, Diane? Good to see you. Haven't seen her in a while. Yeah, that was a hard one to watch. That one was a hard one to stomach. So it was nice in the fact that, I mean, Paula does watch football games, like the big games that the 49ers are on. I get to watch whatever games I want, whatever. Um, but that one, we started watching some games and we were invested in it, and we were invested in it together, right? What it go to the 11th or 12th inning? The one game went 18 innings. About as close of a World Series as you can get. Great for baseball, great World Series. I really wish that one hit from that third baseman who was a heck of a player. I can't remember his last name on the Blue Jays. If they had just dropped that ball, it was a solid hit. They would have won it in the ninth. I do blame it on the base running. I think the Blue Jays, their base running is what cost them. So at some extent, I mean, Dodgers are a good team. Obviously, the one pitcher, Yakam, I was having fun saying his name. Now I can't say it. Yakamoto. I might be missing one Mama Yakamama, whatever it was. He had their number. It reminded me of when the Giants are my number one baseball team because I grew up there. Um, they played the Royals in a World Series in the last decade or so. And Bumgardner, he pitched multiple games, but then he also pitched at the end of game 7. Well, Yakamoto kind of did the same thing, although I think Bumgardner was game 1 for I think Yakamoto had less rest than Bumgardner did. And if you ever go to Kansas City and talk about that, even if you don't talk about that specific World Series, but you say a Giants fan, the first reaction you will always get is, "Oh, I hate that Bumgardner guy." They got a lot of respect, but like, man, he really frustrated them. I think Yakamoto was the same way. But you know what? It was a great series. It was, uh, yeah, it was hard. Especially, yeah, I think they were ahead for a while, and then slowly over time, it just went away. But that's one, and it got me thinking though. Seeing these comments about, oh yeah, Canadians will travel to America now, and some of that. I have a personal, and I guess this maybe only applies to football and even the CFL, NFL and CFL. Here's what I don't like about the NFL and CFL, if I can complain, both of them. They have a neutral site championship game, the Super Bowl and the Grey Cup. So, like next week, the Grey Cup is in Winnipeg, where the Saskatchewan Roughriders will play the Montreal Alouettes. That's their name now, right? A couple of teams have changed their names. Uh, Now it's almost, I think, going to be more of a home game for the Rough Riders because Saskatchewan is 5 hours from Winnipeg, so a lot of people will road trip it if they can get the tickets. Unfortunately, a lot of the tickets go to Winnipeg Blue Bombers season ticket holders. Well, they've been in that game. They've won the West 5 years in a row. I think they got all gobbled up, and I don't think a lot of them are going to be sold because they're the rivals. I've seen a lot of comments online. Do not sell your tickets to Rough Rider fans. Don't give them that home field advantage. Like, and this was within a day, right? That game was last night. Oh, let's talk about that. I'm watching that game last night. The Rough Riders were the best team this year. They had the best record by one game, but they really didn't really. They sat starters the last 2 games, so they're not head and heels above everybody else. It was a pretty competitive season actually, but they should be competitive. And man, they almost let it slip away. It was 14-7. They were ahead. Then it was 14-14, then 21-14. Getting into the end of the fourth, they were down by a touchdown. And it's weird learning these things. I've watched enough CFL to kind of know the gist of some of the rule differences. One of the big ones that will stand out to most people, NFL, you watch it all the time, or even college football, 4 downs. So you get a 3 and out, right? If you don't get a first down, you typically do a 3 and out and then punt. CFL is 3 downs, so you hear 2 and out, right? But you still got to go 10 yards. But your wide receivers, I think 3 of them get a running start, right? So your average gain on a play is probably above 5 yards. Where in the NFL, maybe it's 2 or 3 on average. So it kind of works out. It's supposed to help it be more offensive, and they're actually changing the rules. There's controversy about that. The Canadians may not like it because, yeah, people don't like change all the time. To try to like make it a little bit more like the NFL, quite frankly. And the field goals are at the beginning of the end zones, and the end zones are a lot longer. So you can actually do a long bomb up from the 10-yard line and get a touchdown, right? You're not doing those toe taps in back of the end zone like you see in the NFL all the time. What I didn't realize, and I knew the timing rules were different, but man, our coach, I thought he was screwing it up. We're down 7. We get within the 10-yard line. Throw dropped. Throw, dropped. Third down. 3 minutes left. And 1 second, I don't want to start coughing here, guys. So in my mind, go for it. If you miss it, then they're on like their own 8-yard line. Hopefully you get a 2 and out, and then you got time to go try to drive again. Either way, you need a touchdown. So you're within 10 yards. I think they were on like the 7 or 8. And I wanted to scream, and they kicked it. And my brain went, "Oh gosh, I hope this works out," but I think they really screwed up. They were showing pictures of the fans in the stadium. It was a home game up in Regina. Everybody's you see this one guy stand up and look at his friend like, "What is going on?" Literally on TV, shaking his arms at his friend. I'm doing the same thing, but in my little room down here watching it, streaming it, saying I'm from the US, right? Hi, Dallas. Go back. Go lay down. You're not getting any more right now. Um, so the weird thing is in the NFL, yeah, you better do that. The timing rules are a little bit different. That made it okay, kind of more like college football. Like in college football in the US, if you get a first down, they stop the clock, I think. I can't remember if they stop the clock or they stop till it gets all reset and then it starts. Well, in the CFL, apparently it if you throw it and if it's a drop ball, I think the clock stops. But if you throw it and you don't get out of bounds, the clock still stops till they can get the ball placed and go. So what happened was we were down by 4. We kicked the field goal and started going for the touchdown. You're like, okay, 2 and out, great. And they did. They got 2 and out, and they punted it. And well, I think we got 1 first down, and then we got 2 drop balls or something. And now you got like 2 minutes left. And we're like, you got to go for it. It's third down. This is the game. And they punted it. And I'm screaming at my computer again. What are you doing? You're not going to get another chance. So they punted, and lo and behold, with these timing rules, they still, I think, had 1 timeout. So, of course, now the other team is running the ball, which maybe they should have played more aggressively, 2 and out again, and punted it back, and we still had a minute left. And because you had a minute left in the NFL, you'd be maybe hoping for a field goal, but well, they needed 4 points, so you got to get a touchdown, and you got the field is not 100 yards; it's 110 yards, right? Because you got 2 50-yard lines and then a center line, so you got further to go. So they got 80 yards or something to go in 1 minute, thinking, "Oh gosh," and no timeouts, and needing a field goal still doesn't look good. Well, what allowed them to drive the whole field? Lo and behold, they drove the field, had 11 seconds left from like the 3, threw a touchdown. There was a long replay. They confirmed or didn't confirm it. The call stood. They won. But for like 80 to have 80 yards to go with 1 minute is kind of crazy without a miraculous Hail Mary. It was a fast, picked up pace, but you throw it, the clock stops until they can replace it. So you've got these guys, especially the poor linemen, hustling down. They got to get there. You hear the quarterback calling out the play, right? And so the clock has stopped most of the in-between plays. Now, maybe 5 seconds would run off before they could actually get it snapped because you've got these 3 wide receivers running forward. So you've got to time it. You can't just run up and snap it. You got to get all that in motion. So you do lose about 5 seconds each in between each play plus the time of the play. But it was interesting. I thought they had royally screwed it up, but apparently, I mean, our coaches up for coach of the year, and I think that alone was enough to maybe clinch it if they can consider what's going on in the playoffs. I don't know if they can. So yeah, we won. We will be in the Grey Cup next Sunday. So again, I will post. Keep an eye. I'll try to post a thumbnail. Watch for the time because I think it'll be like 5 o'clock Central. So I'll probably do 3 o'clock or something like that. So it'll be a little bit different time again, and then maybe we can get into a rhythm of what time we'll do Sundays at. But they just did the time zone, and Kobe will know. I was trying to always time it for an hour before the late games or an hour and a half before the late game because I know a lot of people watch football on Sunday. And I was still screwing up the Eastern Standard Time versus Eastern Daylight Time. So I was still an hour off. So I'd get off the live stream and I still have to wait an hour for the game if I say I'm going. I did the same thing today. I thought I had it down. So I don't know what is wrong with me trying to get it scheduled, but we'll get it. We could raid you as well. I don't know. I've still got a few things to talk about, but absolutely, I think. Put a one in chat if you want Paula to go live after this. And my game won't actually start for another hour and a half, so I am all for that. I would still watch you even if the game was on. Um, Nate, I scream at the Seahawks even though they can't hear me through the TV, right? And I am. Okay, so talking about travel and sports. But as I get on all these tangents about the sports happening and all of that. So I have always thought, everybody, I want to go. A lot of people do have on their travel bucket list like a sport event. I want to go to a playoff game of the NFL. I want to go to the Super Bowl. I want to go to a World Series game or a playoff game or something like that. I don't like the neutral field championship games. I don't know why you would travel to one of those and spend massive amounts of money just for tickets, plus all the hype and the hotels are overpriced at that point. When you can go to a playoff, the championship game that is a home field, and this only goes for football, I guess, because NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, those are, baseball and hockey, those are typically what, 5, 7 game series, and they switch off home field, home ice, whatever you want to call it. Well, I guess NBA same home court. But the Arena League back in the day, I was a huge arena football fan. They actually had a big when they got too big for themselves, which caused the whole collapse of the league. I guess they are still around surviving, but they're not the same anymore. Well, they got too big, they got a TV contract, and they were talking about doing a neutral site arena bowl. And the thought was, oh well, we need the planning time. That was the argument. We need the planning time because we got to have like a music talent come in at halftime. My opinion, if I want to go to a concert, I'll go to a concert. NFL, I get it. I mean, a lot of people do watch the Super Bowl for halftime and commercials. It's part of the draw for the people that are kind of non-sports people. But especially for like CFL and stuff, I say, come on, just make it home field advantage. Whoever's got the best record, let them host it. I don't care who the halftime act is. So you get into the comparison of, so for example, the Rough Riders, because they had the best record and they lost their last 2 games. That's the only reason they only were ahead by 1. But they knew about three weeks before the end of the season that they were going to have home field advantage in the Western Conference. So 1 game, Western Conference final, home field advantage. And I was looking at tickets. I was like, man, that'd be fun to go to. Cold, very cold, negative 15 Celsius, I think is what they said. I still would have tried to drag Paula there. We would have bundled up, used body heat, and gotten through it. The reason I didn't, well, I don't want to be spending a lot of money. We're going to Fiji. I'd rather spend the money on that and building a business. Is primary reason. Plus, well, thank goodness I didn't buy tickets because, and part of the reason I was like, I won't even really consider it because I didn't know when the hernia was. And I wanted, once I got the call, hernia surgery was first priority because I wanted it as fast as I could so that it wasn't hanging over our Fiji trip. So look at that. I see a lot of ones. Even Kobe, as he's driving around, put a 1 in. Hopefully you're doing that safely. Uh, so let me know if you're going to, Paula. Are you going to do a live after this and we'll raid you, or do you want to just set your own time? That's up to you. How's it going, Naj? Oh, there we go. Good to see you. Somebody else I haven't seen in a while. I love doing these lives again because you gain to see everybody again. And it's a nice. I know Captain Jack has done an amazing job. Kind of having a community that people, if they want to stay connected. Ava does an amazing job. Some more of the morning ones, as well. But it's not like when COVID was going on, where if you just wanted to hang out with people, having a bad day, wanted to catch up on where people are at, type of thing. There's not constant lives going on, and I kind of feel bad about that. But no, I forget where I was going. So I was looking at these tickets for the Western Conference Championship in Regina. It would be about an hour away, and then they bus you in basically. For Paula and I to go, not overspend, but like lower bowl towards the end zones. Not like it would have been about $100, right? Plus gas. So going up there and back maybe 150, and that's Canadian. So the US dollars, you're talking 110, $120 for comparison purposes. I was looking this morning to go to the Grey Cup, which I don't want to do, Paula. But so I'm not hinting at that. It would be like 500. I think the cheapest tickets way up high, and I think there was like 4 left, was $331 to freeze your butt off at the very top of the stadium where you can't even see. But most tickets of any, and these are each, any decent ticket where you're actually going to be able to enjoy the game was $500 to $600 each. So you're talking over $1,000 plus driving out there, plus hotels or whatever you're going to do if you can boondock. I suppose if you're set up for that. Um, but compare those, not only cost wise. So you're going to spend but if and we're still relatively close. We're 5 hours away from Winnipeg. We could have done it. We could have gone out there, spent $1,500 for the Grey Cup, and say we went to a Grey Cup, right? Or the what spent 150 total to go to the Western Conference Championship. Not and that's not even the part that gets me. But the home fee, if you're going to go to a game, if you've ever been to one that's a neutral site where they're not playing where the home team, you don't have home fans, you don't have the atmosphere. There's not the excitement, there's not the cheering, there's not the woo woo woo. I love that. And why go spend 10 times or I guess that would be 10 times as much the numbers I gave you. I just did the math in my head, 150 to 1,500. Yeah, that's easy math. 10 times as much to go watch a crappier game in a crappier seat. I don't know why people do it. I know all the other sports leagues I get. I still think, even if we're talking other sports leagues, Major League Baseball, Major League, the World Series might be different, but NBA, NHL, I still think like that conference championship. I still think I could be wrong on this, but I still think that would have a better atmosphere to me because you got more rivalries, right? And so to me, if you're doing these travels for football, if you're traveling for a football game, I highly recommend not doing the big game, but doing the game or two before the big game. Plus, you're more likely to see a team that you actually care about versus just going to and this is part why the atmosphere isn't as good. You buy these tickets ahead of time, and two teams that you couldn't care less about make it, and you still want to go. Well, you get the halftime act, right? Anyways, so here's a QQQ for you guys. Let's see what you guys think. I'll catch up on chat here in a second once we do this. So I'm just going to put QQQ here. I should have set this up as and if you're not a sports person, that's okay. But if you're a sports person, what sport or sport event would you travel for? And maybe how far? Because, some of us might, if you're in the Bay Area, you might travel down to LA, right? If it's I think that's a 6 hour drive, 5 hour drive to Winnipeg from here, right? So what sport would you travel for, and maybe how, like, would it only be a road trip? Answer that however you want. I'll read them. I'm curious because I've done this, and I'll share one more story about maybe two more stories. I told you I loved the Arena Football League when I was younger. I was a huge fan. My dad got tickets and all this stuff, and then even once he didn't do season tickets, I'd try to buy tickets here and there, and they'd put me. I had this green and yellow wig, and we'd paint our faces sometimes. I had this annoying cowbell, and I would travel. Most of the games were at home games at San Jose that I went to, but we did make an Arena Bowl, and I think I was 19 at the time. I was a mall cop. I was doing overnight shifts, mall security, and I remember, so I think my shift was like 10 to 6, and I was a rabid fan. So I was in these chat forums, and people knew who I was, and so I managed to get my hands on 2 tickets. Even though I couldn't find somebody that wanted to, nobody else was crazy as me, so I bought 2 tickets because that's what they were selling, but I was going alone. And it was really cool. So I got off work at 6. I drove to Phoenix. So what is that? No, that was a 10, 11-hour drive, I think. I think I paid 2 cheap hotel nights or something like that. I was already tired, but there was an event or whatever, and people wanted to say hi and all of this stuff. Well, the other thing is, it turned out, well, people knew that I had 2 tickets. Then put out there, if anybody wants this ticket, wants to sit next to me, I probably would have given it away for free, but I did spend a little, Arena Football, maybe they were $100 each, but they were good tickets. And that's a smaller field, and I think I was in like the 3rd row or something, not right in the middle of the field, but good girl. You're still not getting any. So I see Kyle saying 18-hour road trip to Daytona 500. See, I wouldn't do it. NASCAR, I don't know. I used to watch it on TV. But I do know there's a lot of rabid fans with NASCAR, and excuse me, I'm gonna blame the hernia on that. Road races. But anyways, what happened was people knew I had this ticket. Well, there was this guy from Kansas City before Kansas City had a team who wanted to go to the Arena Bowl because he was going to be an investor in a team that they were bringing there. And so I got to meet this guy, and I even did a project in college when I was in South Dakota for my associate's degree about a marketing program for the Kansas City team that he let me do. So that was kind of cool. I got to sit next to a guy who was considering investing in an arena football team, not as the primary investor, but this is when teams weren't going for cheap, and still a lot cheaper than NFL teams or any of the big four. But but yeah, and I honestly, when I think back to it, this poor guy sitting next to me who's got his wig and traveled all these hours and he's got this cowbell and I'm going crazy. And damn, it's the best game I've ever been to. I will never forget that game. Just the game itself. Two powerhouses in the Arena Football League. Both teams, I think, only failed to score on one possession each, which isn't crazy in the Arena Football League. It's a scoring league, but only once did each team fail to score, and it all came down to one play at the end of the first half, which in the Arena Football League, time management and trying to get the last score of the first half and then getting the ball the second half. That is absolutely what won it for them. And this guy James Rowe, he was appreciated in San Jose, but he was underappreciated throughout the league. But he was good. He just wasn't one of them quick zippy guys like a lot of the arena football guys were. But anyways, we got the ball left with like 10 seconds left, and it was a tie game going into half, and we're way back towards our end zone or whatever, and we got 40 yards to go. And they do an under route pass. And of course, they all just go sit back by the end zone. And so all the other receivers went long. They're all covered. James Rose sitting like 10 yards down the field, so the quarterback throws it to him. But he's still got 30 yards to go with all these defenders. And he's not a zippy guy. He's not the quick, like, zig and zag type of guy. And I just remember this guy running down, lumbering down the field. He was more of a linebacker almost. Well, he was, because they play both ways. That's one of the things I loved about the league. He was a linebacker. He was a jack linebacker, I believe, and then one of the wide receivers on offense. And so you would have thought they had 5 or 6 guys down the field should have been able to tackle him. But this guy he just did a loop-de-loop or whatever you call swivel, and then kind of bounced off one guy, bounced off another. All these tacklers are hitting them into other tacklers, but nobody's wrapping them up. And he just kind of ding, 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 and into the end zone. That is the single thing that won that game. At one point, I still had that on VHS. I do think I eventually gave up my VHS copy of that Arena Bowl because I loved it so much. But this poor guy, his name was Rick. I forget his last name. He probably got an unrealistic expectation of what his fans were going to be like because he was sitting next to me and I was such a crazy fan. But yeah, so that was one. And that was before they ever went to a neutral Arena Bowl. It was amazing, but it wasn't our home field. We did have a lot of fans there though. But and it was a big rivalry, two of the powerhouses in the Arena Football League. It was a great day. And yeah, and then I did a report on it later for college and whatnot. I even went when I moved to South Dakota, I was missing arena football. I was still 21, 22, I was still younger, still when I was into it. And there was a game in Chicago, and one night I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna drive. I'm gonna go to a game in Chicago. I'm gonna get my wig. I'm gonna get my bell and get a hotel night for one night. I'm going to Chicago. I missed my team, and so sure enough, gosh, that was an 8-hour drive, 9-hour drive or something. I'd never been to Chicago. I got lost in Chicago, in bad parts of Chicago, and so I got there that night, got a hotel, and then the next night I was driving, or the next day before the game, I was driving around. I wanted to see Chicago. I never did make it. I did. This was MapQuest days, guys. This wasn't you got Google or whatever to put a thing in. So it was kind of like I'm just going to go explore in Chicago because I know people go to Chicago. Well, I think the arena was in Roseville, so it wasn't even quite in Chicago. I'm trying to drive towards Chicago and then get lost in Chicago. Luckily, I was a young, dumb 22, 23-year-old guy going through bad parts of Chicago. And you know what? I rolled my windows down and I blasted country music, thinking, I get that I'm in a bad neighborhood, but I'm going to look as less scared as I possibly can, because if you're down pumping out your country music in the bad hood or whatever in Chicago, would that make you think twice if you were a bad guy? I don't know. I don't know. I was fine. I got lost for a few hours actually. Didn't make it to the game. And I remember I wasn't sure. So we had these cowbells that were actually kind of banned in a lot of arenas because they were so loud and annoying. And I had this giant wig, so I didn't want people to know. And I at least as I was going into the arena. And so I remember putting the cowbell, balancing it on my head under the wig so that they wouldn't confiscate my cowbell, and then went in the bathroom and took it out and quietly took it. And I was on the 50-yard line, maybe 15 rows up. Chicago arena fans, the Chicago Rush, they were the most, I mean, they were very nice fans. They, when I'm a single guy and I don't think there was another say San Jose fan in this, because now you're not talking an hour 8-hour road trip, right? You're talking about halfway across the country. So I was alone. I didn't see another SaberCats fan there. And I took it easy at first. But by the second half, my bell was out. Nobody in that entire arena ever stood up. I'm sorry. If it's third down, if it's an important defensive down, I don't care if I'm the only one in the arena. I stood up in my wig and I rang that cowbell. And I had people in Chicago yelling at me to sit down. And I yelled back at them, stand up. What are you guys doing? Like, I get that you don't have to stand up the entire game. We don't tell people to sit down when they're getting excited and yelling and it's a third down. No, I get it. They don't want me being loud. I was probably louder than that entire section of Chicago fans. Anyways, I don't know, Diane. I had a good time. I had a good time. And I never did get to like the bean or I mean, I've been there now because I worked there for a couple weeks at one point. But yeah, I never got to what Chicago, what people think of as Chicago, Michigan Avenue, and the Bean, and all of that little square area that's kind of surrounded by that little river. Yeah, I never did get to it. I had the I found the bad parts of town, but whatever. I was really only there for the game, so it's not like I was there to see or to sightsee or whatever. But hey, you know what? It's always been that way though, right? And I will tell you, I remember growing up in the Bay Area. I got lost once in EPA, East Palo Alto. Palo Alto, where Stanford is a very nice city. They split the city up because, poor and rich, and you got into East EPA. And I we were going to a party once, I was 18, 19, whatever, and I got lost at like 2 in the morning in EPA, and I pull over. I know I'm not in a good part of town, but if I just keep driving, I'm just going deeper in and trying to find out where that party was at. And they're like, Nate, you're an EPA. Just don't stop. Get back driving, right? It was that same type of feeling in Chicago. Uh-oh. I'm starting to feel like coughing, guys. So I might have to wrap this up soon because talking too much isn't going to be good for me. 1 second. All right. All right. Let's see. Somebody. Okay. I'm going to go through your comments about answering that question. And then if somebody wants to drop, or Paula, are you going to do a live? Are we going to raid you? Or are you going to do it later at set time? Hi, Angie. How's it going? Oh, 15 more minutes. Okay, I can go 15 more minutes. I might just slow down a little bit. I don't have to talk 100 miles an hour. I forget that sometimes. All right, let's scroll up. Where's my QQQ? Okay, here's where we started. Let's see what your answers to travel for sports, what you would do. Naj says, nope, not interested. It is, especially when you get into those bucket list type games, the tickets alone are a lot, right? The CFL, the Grey Cup, no, $500 a ticket. That's not even a major. I like it now, but on most people's radar, they're going to be like, "Come on, why are you going to spend $1,000 to go to the Grey Cup?" And someday maybe I would. I don't know. I mean, opportunity cost. There's other things I'd rather do. I'd rather spend, or like right now, I'd rather spend $1,500 if I had. If I'm going to spend $1,500, I want to spend that money in Fiji, right? When we go to Fiji. Now, you know what? I'm not a big NASCAR guy, but I will say this. The Daytona 500, the Brickyard, some of those, Indianapolis 500. Am I saying those correctly? Some of those, what are they? 3 big races. I could see doing one. I think and here's why. And back in the day when I was a big arena football fan, they'd have surveys. The two, I mean, yeah, you've got the big 4 sports where you've got more fans, but where you had the rabid fans, the crazy fans like me, were in NASCAR and arena football. If you looked at the surveys and the research at the time, this is like in 2000, 2002 type thing. Floss says, not interested, too much money. Lily says, football NFC West championship game. See, I like it. Championship game. I much prefer, yeah, I've already said it. Championship game over Super Bowl. I would never waste my money on the Super. I just wouldn't. If they pay, if I got free tickets, I would go. But if I had to pay more than a normal regular season ticket, I probably wouldn't ever bother to go to the Super Bowl. I would absolutely love that championship game. Angie, I'm 5 days after surgery, I'm doing quite well. I'm surprised, still surprising myself a little bit how well I feel I'm doing. I am coughing a little bit more than I like. It's not really ideal after a surgery. I've never done it after a hernia surgery before. I don't know what they put a tube down my throat. I think this time might be why it's a little different. I've been coughing a lot this year, anyways. But no, very happy. I'll still have another. So had the surgery Tuesday. 6 weeks from the surgery, you can't lift more than 10 pounds. And if you guys are just coming in here, it sounds like in 10 minutes, 11 minutes, Paula is going to do a live, guys. She almost did one. You guys don't know this. She almost did one after the last time I did a live. She was like, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. I was like, well, you always got Halloween too. Because she's always had fun with the Halloween lives, but she didn't really want to do the Halloween one. So she's feeling it. She's got to do it while she feels it, right? And I know I somewhere on my list that I get off script. She's got. I imagine she's going to show you guys some of her candle stuff, and it's pretty cool stuff that she's been making. And she's got, I think, we're in a Christmas season. She's not done a sale for a while, but next weekend she will. So she'll probably talk about some of that. You guys gotta at least go for long enough to see some of these cool things she's making. Not just you've probably seen the bouquets, dog candles, all sorts of stuff, geode candles. All that's all I'm gonna say. I probably already said too much. Diane says nothing beats going to a Steelers game, home game, wrapped in a blanket, catching snow on your tongue, and drinking hottest coffee. I don't know about the cold part. We did go last year, not the conference championship, the division or what. Well, it's not really the division up in CFL's only got 2 conferences and 2 divisions and 9 teams, which is why. But the game before the championship or the conference championship, they had it in Regina, and Paul and I did get tickets to it because through her work she got some sort of deal. And it was cold, and each as you get further, you get a little colder, right? Because you get further into the year. It wasn't too cold, but it definitely, especially when you drive up, park, and then you go to a place where they take you in by bus. So then you go from being cold outside to now you're in a crowded bus, like of a can of sardines, and I almost overheated. And then you're back to the freezing cold. Then you're waiting in a cold line. I don't know. That part to me, I I I loved at least the younger being like, I'm a crazy rabbit fan. Now I don't know if I'm a rabbit enough to. I don't know. The cold part I will endure, but that's not the part that I would enjoy. Hey Brandon, how's it going, man? Scrolling. Okay, I don't think anybody else said anything on that. Everybody's saying hi. I hear footsteps upstairs, which means Paul's running around getting candles and stuff probably. So she's I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I'm gonna let her show you guys that. I have a problem with that sometimes. That's she. I'm just gonna say, stay around. Hopefully I can entertain you guys for 9 more minutes. We'll see. I do have other notes and stuff we can talk. Oh. Okay, I know what we're doing for 9 minutes. Let me make sure I'm not missing. I even said I was gonna talk about the Kiva stuff on the thumbnail, and I haven't even mentioned it. I'll do a quick update on that, and then it'll be time for Paula to show you guys all the really cool stuff. She's got it's a hobby, but it's kind of a business now. Um, so yeah, going to Florida for the winter. Jealous. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, everybody's saying, yeah, that's not the city to get lost in. You know what though? I don't want to say I grew up in a safe area, but there was also unsafe areas. And I grew up in a high school where there was gangs and stuff, and some of them tormented me sometimes and whatnot. But I was exposed to some of that and knew I had friends that were in gangs. I wasn't in a gang myself, but there's actually a lot of there were some gang members that I don't know, they had something against me, and then there was other like, when I was 18, 19, there was gang members that I worked with in restaurants. I was like, "Man, if anybody ever messes with you, you let me." I don't know why. But it never I was exposed to it enough that I understand they're still just people. That doesn't mean it's not dangerous, but when you can look at it from that lens a little bit, I think it's a little less scary. Kobe says, "I need to go inside and shop for my next delivery. It was nice listening to you. My dream sport game already happened. My dad, my best friend, and I in St. Louis watching the Brewers and Cardinals. Was that in a playoff game or just a? Oh, so I say, oh, I'm just feeling my incision a little bit. I do have to wear a hernia belt that's got a little thing that kind of pokes in to kind of hold that, and sometimes I got to take it off just to give it a little bit of relief. But sneak peek at some news from my live stream Wednesday. I'm launch a podcast, and that baseball game will be part of it. All right. I thought he was doing Saturdays. I honestly need to get better about keeping up with what other people are doing on YouTube. I've been so busy once I started full-time work, I was so focused on that. Um, and I'm still focused on work. Trying to start a business takes even more time. But I am trying to get better about trying to get into other people's live streams and whatnot. Wednesday's a hard one for me because, and I know I used to do Wednesday lives. So we're going to Fiji in January. I actually have enough points to book the trip home. Otherwise, we just stay in Fiji, I guess. Uh, but yeah, Survivor is on Wednesday nights, which is why I'm not a lot in Jackson whatnot. But we want to watch those because it's filmed in Fiji. So it kind of gets us. We kind of like the show. That and Big Brother, depending on who is on, that kind of drives whether it's actually interesting or not. But having it in Fiji where we're gonna go is kind of cool. Um, Starting a business is not work. Oh, it's there's so many things that need to be done. Sometimes you just don't know what you got to do first. It's yeah, there's the type of business I'm running. There's a lot you got to do before you can ever even take on a client and getting things set up, especially IT security and that type of thing. Uh, I've got some things done. I've hit a couple of goals that I had, and I've hit them early. So I'm not. Oh yeah, it's 24/7 work. Yeah, it doesn't stop. Okay, I see what you're saying. Oh yeah, but the nice thing, if it works out, that's a big if. You're always taking a risk. It will enable us to kind of live our dream in 5 years, right? Travel, and I will work as much as I want to. I don't imagine I will turn down a lot of work, but at some point, uh, there will be balance, and I can, if I can make it successful, we can take a month off in the winter when it's slower. Anyways, we can go do different things. I can control my schedule. I can, if we want to go somewhere one week and I just got to work extra hard another week, that type of thing. But all right. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I promised to talk about Kiva a little bit. Let me make sure I get You guys have been with me where we've done some of these Kiva loans. We've talked about what country we want to no, I want my entire screen. Oh shoot. Sorry, I don't think I had the audio in there. Shoot. Let me try this again. I am so out of practice. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I don't think I'm gonna be able to share the screen because I had it set up. I can show you, but I think I messed up clicking the audio button, so I don't think you guys can hear me when that happens. So I was gonna show you guys kind of like the we'll just do a quick. Okay, put a once I share the screen, put a 3 in chat if you can't hear me because I thought I didn't hit the button I needed to, but we'll try. Okay, so 3 if you can't hear me. All right. And if I don't see a 3, I'll just keep talking. So here's Kiva. We've talked about this as kind of a I've always enjoyed doing this. I've done this for maybe a decade now. Okay. I see Johnny saying 3. I'm just gonna say it, and then we got 3 minutes anyway. So I was gonna give you guys a quick update. I was gonna try to show you, but we've kind of talked about this in the past here and there in lives where we pick a country and then I say, okay, I'm gonna go find one of these Kiva loans where you kind of help. It's micro lending in other countries. We would learn a little bit about the country. We talk about it. We'd put a survey, and then I'd go out and make a Kiva loan. Well, there were. I got to switch screens, even though you guys can't see it. But oh, everybody else can. Okay. All right. So don't worry about it. Oh man, it kicked me out anyways now. It didn't remember it. Well, dang it. Now I had it in and now all right. Anyways, so I think we had a loan that we had voted on. We were going to do in Africa in Rwanda, I think, a couple years ago. And then I think last year it was Peru. And I was just going to kind of give you guys an update on how that works. Like we were only giving a loan of $25, right? They would ask, we need $600 to start a store or whatever, and people chip in from all over the world. We would do $25 and we'd vote on it here. And those loans actually repaid. So I was just going to kind of give you guys that update. Time's running out still, three, yeah. Um, but those loans have repaid. So I was going to try to do another survey of where you guys wanted to, and I'll just do it as a post. I was thinking the one I was gonna try to do was Jamaica with the hurricane and everything, but they're not actually active in Jamaica. So, and quite frankly, right now they probably just need donations anyways, not these Kiva loans. So will put a poll up this week. I was thinking I'll give you guys a few options. I was thinking Fiji because I saw Fiji was an option, and Paul and I will be going there. And I'll pick a couple. Ukraine is one that there's a chance it won't get repaid, which is fine. But because of everything Ukraine's going through, you guys know I'm a big supporter of Ukraine with everything going on. I'll give you guys like 4 options. We'll vote on it, and then I'll make another Kiva loan, and we'll talk about it some other time. It's something we talk about here and there. I know very inconsistently, but that's okay. I do it $25 at a time here and there. It said in my stats, and I've been doing it for a decade, that I've made $2,000 in loans. But you lend out $50, it gets paid back, and you do that long enough, and it'll say you've lent all this money. But I find it a fun way not only to help somebody in another country get a loan that otherwise couldn't start a business, that type of thing, but I've always used it as an opportunity to learn about another country and go research it and find out what's there or whatever, right? Okay. So with that, yeah, we can't hear. Oh, we can hear, but now I can't get in. It's okay. Johnny, does that remind you, thinking back of the very first time I went live? Johnny was the one, I think I was sitting there talking to myself for like 30 minutes, something like that. Let's see. I'm gonna try to see if I can't get a link for you guys. If there's a moderator that has a link, otherwise we'll hang out and I'll get a link before. It does look like she's live, so give me 1 second here. I'm gonna grab a link. Somehow, if I can remember how to do this. Hear her. All right, here we go. There's the link. I don't know if that's how I'm supposed to share it. Does that work, guys? I am so out of practice at this. She posted the link. Oh, I don't see it in. Oh, she did. Okay. So I'm gonna give it a couple minutes here. I'm gonna make sure as we go in there, thumbs up it. I'm closing down, guys. So I still see 10 people in here. Once it gets down to 1 or 2, I'll close this out. I see 5 people in there. Everybody going over. She posted the link. Everybody's got it. I think that wants it. I do know that. Oh, I lost my count in here now. I was looking at hers. Oh, now I see where I was seeing it. At least it says 8 are still in here. So, all right, guys, we are we've covered everything for today. Let's go see what Paula has to say. We got an hour before the Niners and the Rams game, if anybody else even cares. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Be sure to watch within the day because of the CFL game. I will probably have a little different timing on it as well. But we love doing it, so we will make sure we get a live stream in next week as well. All right, see you guys. Have a good weekend.